Hello friends, in this video we are going to look at physical and chemical changes. Different changes occur around us every moment. Some common changes are melting of ice, freezing of water, burning of wood, digestion of food we eat, growth of plants, etc. Let us segregate these changes on the basis of physical and chemical changes. Physical changes. A physical change is one in which some of the physical properties of substances undergoing change are altered temporarily, but the actual composition and mass of the substances are remain unchanged and no new substances are produced. This type of change is reversible. So, a physical change is a change in which the physical properties are altered temporarily, but there's no difference or there's no change in the actual composition and mass of the substance, and no new substances are produced. This type of change is reversible, meaning that the original substance, after changing it, can be changed back to the same substance. Let us look at few examples of physical changes. Evaporation of water is a physical change. When liquid water is heated, it gets converted into vapor, but the vapor on cooling is condensed to liquid water. So this is a physical change because it is reversible. When we heat water, it changes into water vapor, but when we cool the same water vapor, we get back to the same liquid water. Dissolution of common salt in water is also a physical change. When solution of common salt in water is evaporated to dryness, it gives back common salt which has the same original property. So, when we dissolve common salt in water and when we heat the water, basically when we evaporate the water, we get the same common salt back with no difference in properties. The mixing of iron filings and sulfur is a physical change. In this mixture, both the iron filings and sulfur have their individual properties retained. These can be separated by a very easy process called magnetic separation. Iron filings get attracted to the magnet, leaving behind sulfur. Similarly, when the mixture is treated with carbon disulfide, sulfur dissolves in it but iron filings do not. This can be filtered off, thus removing iron from the original sulfur. So, this mixture of iron filings and sulfur is a physical change because when we mix before we mix it we have iron filings and sulfur like separated. After we mix we can again separate it by magnetic separation or by treating with carbon disulfide. Therefore it is a reversible change and hence it is a physical change. The melting of ice is a physical change. On heating ice melts to form water, on cooling water the same ice is formed. So this is also a physical change because it is reversible. On heating, ice melts to water, and on cooling the same water, we get the same ice. And now let us look at the chemical changes. A chemical change is one in which the substances undergoing change are transformed into completely new substance whose properties are entirely different from that of the original substances. This change is irreversible. So a chemical change is a change when the change is occurred, we get a completely new substance whose properties are really entirely different from those of the original substances. A really good example is H2O, which is called water. So hydrogen is an inflammable gas, and water is a gas which is needed for combustion. But when hydrogen and water are reacted, they form water, which has a completely different property. And normally, water is used to extinguish fire, unlike hydrogen and oxygen. And we also use these two gases, the compound which they form, to drink for our livelihood. And now let us look at other examples. Burning of coal is a chemical change. Coal is a black solid. When it is burnt in oxygen, which is a colorless gas, when it is burnt in oxygen, a colorless gas is produced which does not burn, rather, it extinguishes a burning substance. This gas is carbon dioxide. The property of carbon dioxide is completely different from that of coal and oxygen. So this is a chemical change because there's a completely different property of the original substance and the final substance or the reacted after the new substance formed after reaction. And souring of milk is a chemical change. Milk is a sweet liquid. The curd obtained by the souring of milk is a semi-solid substance that is sour in taste. Thus, milk is completely different when it is converted to curd and it is not reversible. The heating of iron filings and sulfur is a chemical change. When these two substances are heated, a brown compound of iron sulfide is formed. Iron sulfide has entirely different properties from that of iron and sulfur. So now, when a magnet is brought near the brown compound, iron is not attracted anymore. And similarly, sulfur and iron sulfide does not dissolve in carbon disulfide. This shows that the substances have lost their individual properties. This is also a chemical change because the properties of the original substances, iron filings, and sulfur, is entirely different from the new substance after reaction, which is iron sulfide. Finally, the digestion of food we eat is a chemical change. The food materials are converted into simpler substances like glucose. Glucose in our body is oxidized to give carbon dioxide and energy. Carbon dioxide is exhaled while energy is utilized by the body. So, digestion of food we eat is a chemical change because the food materials which we eat are converted into glucose, which is a chemical change, and this glucose is oxidized to give up carbon dioxide and energy. And we utilize the energy for our functioning, and carbon dioxide is exhaled when we inhale oxygen. And the original food materials can never be produced again because it's irreversible. So, besides all these changes, the burning of wood, ripening of fruits, cooking of rice, rusting of iron is termed as corrosion, which is because of oxidation reaction. We'll learn it soon. Formation of water from hydrogen and oxygen, which we just saw it. Burning of candle, drying of leaves. These are all chemical changes. And here is an image showing the difference between chemical and physical changes. So, chemical change. So, before the wood and when we burn the wood, we get a new substance which is a pile of ash. And now, first we have a whole lemon, and after we cut it, we get slices of lemon, which is the same substance. There's no alteration in the chemical property of the substance. And now let us come to the final topic of this video, which is the differences between physical and chemical changes. So, in a physical change, the identity of the substance is maintained, whereas in a chemical change, the identity of the original substance is completely lost. And in a physical change, no new substance is produced. In a chemical change, a new substance is always produced. And in a physical change, only the physical state or some of the physical properties are changed. And in a chemical change, the physical and the chemical property of a substance is changed. And in a physical change, the change is temporary. The substance returns to the original state as soon as the cause of change is withdrawn. And in chemical change, the change is permanent. The changed substance cannot go back to its original state even when the cause of change is withdrawn. And in a physical change, heat change may or may not occur, but in a chemical change, heat change must occur. An example of a physical change where heat change occurs is melting of ice or the vaporization of water, where we heat the ice or water for it to come back to liquid state or gaseous state, and hence the heat changes occurred. In all chemical changes, heat change are occurred. And hence we have successfully completed the topic of physical and chemical changes. In the next video, we'll be doing about Newton's second law of motion. Then we'll be doing third law of motion. Then we'll go to some of the chemistry topics. Thank you so much.